Hey guys, my name's DocJade and welcome to episode 8 of the Factorio series where we try to hit 1 million green circuits per hour. In the last episode we worked on building a rail base and we're going to be expanding that today to add all sorts of new production to it. I put these items on a belt last time to remind me what to build next time, but next time is now, so what are we going to build now? Well, lucky for you, I wrote down everything we're going to build this episode on this fancy piece of aluminum. Let's see, we're going to build coal, oil, plastic, more copper, more iron, steel, rails, red circuits, more green circuits, blue circuits, and speed modules. Not productivity modules though, because I forgot. Now if you were paying any attention to the background, you'll notice I've been landfilling in this area next to this rail so I can get stone up here, because I need stone for the rail production. So I'm going to set up a stone mine here so we can throw it on a train and send it on up. You may have noticed that this episode is a lot longer than the previous ones. What's up with that? Well, let me tell you why. I got let go from my job and now I'm unemployed. I'm gonna put all the stone in steel chests while it's being mined. Why, you might ask? I don't know, it seems pointless in retrospect. Anyways, I'll start working on building a train station for it. And then realize that I made it too wide. Oh, and because I'm impatient and like wasting resources, I'm going to tell the bots to throw level 1 speed modules into all of the miners. Now I'll make my way up to the rail grid and we can start working on building rail production. Now I'll set up this train station to receive stone. But since this design was copied from a different train station drop-off, our friend the iron plate train is a bit too eager, so we have to tell him to go away. I finished setting up that station, and next up is an iron plate drop-off. Thankfully, this time Mr. Plate Train actually has an invitation, so he can stay. Now I'll start making iron sticks for the rails. Now I'll set up a drop-off for steel, even though we haven't automated that yet. Now I'll start working on the assemblers for the rails and the output station for the entire cell. I just noticed the assemblers aren't in a straight line. Let me fix that really quick. Now if you pay close attention here, you'll notice that I pasted down the left side of rail production one tile too far to the left. I did not notice this for almost an entire hour. And there we go, that's rail production finished. I'll go ahead and mark it on the map real quick. Once I'm done stabilizing my shaky hands enough to place the marker, we can start working on steel production. I'll set up a drop-off station, and here comes Iron Trainy McTrainface. In an effort to make the Factorio gods cry, I designed this horrid monstrosity. But thankfully it wasn't dense enough, so I switched to a more conventional design. And proceeded to build it off-center. I'll fix that. As punishment from the Factorio gods, I was blind to a flaw of my design that resulted in doubled up belts. I'll go ahead and build the steel pickup station. Now I'll go ahead and preemptively slap down a delivery train for when the furnaces start up. Speaking of furnaces starting up, the iron plates are starting to trickle in. Now steel is up and running. Nope, just kidding. Guess who done goofed the ratios? We need more iron plate input belts, but to have more input belts, we need more train stations for delivery. But that's too many train stations than the single cell can hold, so I'm going to need to sever this rail and make myself a 1x2 cell. So I'll go ahead and slap down the additional iron plate stations, and do a little bit of rail cleanup. This is so nice. So much more room to work with. But imagine if I went with that original microgrid I tested. That would have been awful. Anyways, I'll start reassembling the smelting array, now upgraded with the correct ratios. You may notice that I'm using speed module 3s in all of the furnaces. This is because if I didn't, the smelters wouldn't have fit in the size of grid cell, and I probably would have had to use a 2x2 cell if I wanted to use no modules. The real bummer though is that this throws off my calculations for how many smelting arrays I needed, because all of my math was based off of productivity modules. Oh well, I'll just have to build more I guess. Anyways, I'm starting to hook up the stone train, and once it's connected we should start making rails. Also, I built this train station backwards. Oops. We're gonna need more iron plates for the steel, so I'll go ahead and copy and paste one of the smelters. And now with stone being delivered and steel being smelted, we're making rails. Here I finally spot that rail production misalignment and fix it. Also, I'm going to put the rails in passive provider chests so the bots can use them. Next up on our list of things to automate is speed modules, but before we can start working on that, our wall is being damaged by the new and improved behemoth biters, so I'll go ahead and research some more laser turret damage. I'm going to set up a mining patch for coal because we are going to need it for plastic, which we are going to need for red circuits, which we are going to need for speed modules. Oh, and those 2 laser turret upgrade researches are already done. I'm also going to upgrade flamethrower damage. And with that train station, coal mining is done. I'm going to research a few levels of train braking force, and what that does for us is increases the overall average speed of the trains, because with better brakes, the trains spend less time decelerating. Next up on our list of research is coal liquefaction. This will let us turn coal and steam into oil products, which I prefer over having fluid wagons full of regular oil. We currently aren't keeping up with iron plate demand, so I'll add yet another additional smelter. I'm also going to add a water pickup station here because water does not deserve its own grid cell. Now we can start working on coal liquefaction. Check out how quickly the water train does its deliveries. It takes about 2.2 seconds to fill and drain the fluid wagons with our current setup. Now I'll just set up a coal train for deliveries and we're pretty much done. Now I just have to kickstart the refineries with some heavy oil. Once those refineries are up and running, we can start working on the chemical plants to crack the different kinds of oil down into petroleum. There we go. Now I'll just add a pickup station for the petroleum. I'll also add a station for heavy oil because I'll need it later for lubricant. Looks like some of my train stations aren't signaled correctly, leading to trains stopping in the intersection, so I'll have to fix some of those really quick. Next, I'll start working on plastic production. Plastic production is super simple, so there's not a ton to talk about here. Maybe while you're waiting for past me to build this, you could leave a like or a comment. It helps a ton with engagement. Anyway, as per usual, I'm trying to build this with the correct ratio to produce 1 red belt of plastic. Now as the bots start placing down the pipes, plastic production is up and running. The oil refineries aren't producing heavy oil and thus petroleum fast enough to keep up with our plastic production, so I'm going to add a couple more refineries. I just noticed a huge chunk of our walls don't have any oil for flamethrowers, so I'll go investigate that really quick. Turns out I pasted down the blueprint incorrectly here, so this pipe never got connected. I just realized I plugged in the new oil refineries backwards, so I'll fix that really fast. But we still aren't making petroleum fast enough, so I'll add an entire second grid cell of production. Now we can start setting up red circuits. Not much to say about this as well, so just sit back and relax to the beautiful sounds of the Industrial Revolution unfolding in real time. Man, I got the ratios wrong again. Needed more inputs, so now it's 1/3. All done. Now I just need to plug it in. I accidentally put copper wire where green circuits should have gone, and vice versa, so I'll fix that really fast. There we go. Now, since the speed modules aren't in the assemblers yet, this cell currently only makes half of a red belt, but that should be fine for now. And I'm super excited to have red circuits done because it took almost a full hour to build. Next up is blue circuits, but I would need 200 assemblers with speed module 3s to be able to fill a red belt, so I'm not going to build it full size. But we'll do that in a minute because I need to do some other base maintenance stuff first, and there are a couple prerequisites for blue circuits that we need to automate as well. I'm going to research some more artillery cannon range, but our limiting factor is definitely going to be space science because we are still heavily bottlenecked on steel in the old base, and our little mall is stealing all the low density structure. Also, I forgot to build nuclear fuel reprocessing, so our storage is slowly filling up with used uranium fuel cells, so I'll go ahead and set up a few centrifuges for that really fast. Now I'll start working on sulfur production. There we go. That was easy. Next up is sulfuric acid, but I get a bit distracted and end up doing stuff at the old base for a while. Check out the bot centipede that happens when I delete this old storage chest. Also, it turns out I forgot to disable Spidertron production, so now we have 5 additional ones. Anyways, back to sulfuric acid. Also, I'm going to update the map markers to show the production speeds of the grid cells so I can keep track of the ratios easier. Now it's time to start working on blue circuits. Like I said earlier, it's not going to be a full red belt of output because that would take 20 input belts of green circuits, and that's a bit absurd. Time to start working on the actual assemblers. We actually don't need very many assemblers due to input item constraints. I always thought it was kind of weird that blue circuits use sulfuric acid, but it turns out that sulfuric acid is used in real-life semiconductor production. Kinda neat. This is such an inefficient use of space, but that's what I get for using one-to-one trains, I guess. Man, it takes so long for the robots to bring belts from the old base. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Anyways, blue circuits are now starting to be produced. This setup is abysmally small due to input constraints, so we only produce about 1/3 of a yellow belt of blue circuits. Filling this train should take about 30 minutes on average, which is definitely suboptimal. After expanding the grid a bit, it's time to work on making speed modules. I'm only setting up level 1s today, but we also produce everything we need for the other 2 levels now, so it'll be easy to set them up at a later date. The ratio for this setup is half of a yellow belt of output, so we should be able to make 27,000 of these per hour, which when you upgrade them all the way to level 3 speed modules, that works out to about 1,350 level 3s per hour, which is way more than we should ever need. But you know what they say, go big or go home. And there we go, all done. Now, if we look at the rate of production versus the rate of consumption on the green circuits, you'll notice that we're not producing enough to keep up with the new demand, so I'll paste down another green circuit grid cell and a copper grid cell. Now, like I said earlier, I'm tired of waiting so long for the bots to deliver and build stuff up here, so I'm going to build a mini Amazon distribution center, including the underpaid workers. So I'll go ahead and slap down some buffer chests and a ton of storage chests. Now I just need to set up the filters for all the buffer chests. This will take a while. Now I can deconstruct all the old storage to bring the items north. I'm also going to research worker robot speed and cargo size to help with moving all those items. Check out the speed difference. I also researched another level of robot speed. Time to deconstruct more of that old storage. We're using all of the logistics robots now, and almost 10,000 construction robots. I'm a bit annoyed with my limited inventory size, so I'm going to make myself some Mark II power armor. Also, in the next episode, I want to expand this wall a ton, so I'm going to bring the artillery train up here really quick. There we go, all cleaned up. I'm going to build myself a little mini wall diorama out of items to remind me to build walls next time. Speaking of next time, this episode has ran out of frames, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. My name's DocJade. Bye-bye.